Hey folks, here we are again, working on the float ride seat. Just doing a little bit of cleaning. It's always important after we've done some painting. Now I've sandblasted all these parts, at least the original used parts, and done a quick shot of primer on them. But before I painted, after sandblasting, I was very careful to tape off all the bearing pins and bearing flange surfaces. That way you don't have to scrape the paint back off. Now some folks, when restoring these float ride seats, choose to shoot green on all the parts. My purpose is really just to primer them and shoot green at the end. That really depends on how much green paint do you want in places that you're never really going to see. That's all personal preference. But some useful things for cleaning those, obviously sandpaper. For cleaning some of the holes or the bearing bushing surfaces on the inside, a pipe cleaner type wire brush is pretty useful. And basically we just want to make sure that the bushings fit and go in like they're supposed to, nice and easy. A couple pieces that we're very careful to take and clean were, any of these type, this connecting link, along with this part here where these pins go through the torsion springs, like so, the other way. But it's very important because if any binding on these shafts, you're going to have an issue when assembling the seat. A couple parts that we're going to illustrate the Steiner offers for replacement. This little back plate that fits on the back side of your springs, which actually when you walk up to the back of the seat you see this part. Ours isn't in too bad a condition, some rust pitting, but often these are beat up beyond use. Sometimes if somebody in the past tried to, disassembling and didn't know that there was roll pins in the ends of the shafts, disfigured the back plate. So Steiner offers a new replacement, like so. Certainly nice if you don't have one or yours is damaged or missing. Also the tie bar. As you can see, I took a sandblaster and tried cleaning up, but these threads are in rather poor condition, and making that usable again is not really very practical. But Steiner offers a brand new one. May allow you to adjust your seat just like it was meant to be. So that's probably a must-do item for us. These little connecting links that connect various, the pins, pivot pins and bushings. Steiner also offers them new. Ours in this case were not severely damaged aside from just some rust pitting, as you'll see, but new ones are certainly nice to work with. I will note, when you're assembling your inspecting your disassembled parts, sometimes the old original bushings that were pressed into these pieces, the pins actually wore through the bushing and into these connectors. And if that's the case, you certainly probably ought to replace them, because what's going to happen when you put a bushing in a new bushing in a worn part, it's going to want to disfigure that and wear that bushing abnormally. You certainly don't want to go through all the work of rebuilding a float ride seat and then have your bushings messed up right out the gate. Aside from that, one other important note is on the torsion springs. To make sure that if some folks might choose to paint these, I'm not going to. We'll paint green on the final assembly. But these pins are very critical because they're such tight tolerance. You want to make sure to take some sandpaper, and if there's any rust or overspray in paint, make sure to get them nice and shiny and clean. So when you're going to assemble, well, I guess I grabbed the wrong one. They fit just perfect, right like they're supposed to. So if you have any residual paint or rust in that area, assembly can be a real booger, and it's not something very easy to do. That's just one of those critical areas that you want to make sure and get good and clean. So that's where we're at this time. We're going to go ahead and start assembling the bushings into the various parts, and we'll be back to show you that.